Hello everybody and welcome to another video. I'm not sure really why I've been putting this off, I guess because it's slightly out of my territory. Welcome to my first build video that is not on an elementalist. I've been playing a lot of engineer lately, particularly in World vs. Wild, so I want to show you guys the spec that I'm running here and like the concept behind it. I think it's really strong. It can look kind of brain dead when you look at my traits and you'll be like, oh, this is just the most basic thing in the world. But I think my reasoning for why I've gone with what I've gone is pretty sound, and I want to share it with you guys because I think it's pretty awesome to see. So, this is my engineer. This is basically a condition damage engineer that the whole point of it is so that I can put out absolute maximum pressure at really far ranges and when I might not have that much opportunity to hit someone. In World vs. World, if you're running around in a huge Zerg, you'll probably find that either you're completely wiping the enemy team, in which case you get very little time to actually contribute and do a lot of damage. You know, a lot of like Guardians will just find themselves auto-attacking on staff to try and get tags. Or you're in some kind of siege and you're trying to attack a keep or something. There's lots of people up on the walls around and you want to be able to contribute to the fight. Engineer is fantastic for that. The whole idea of this spec is that I can hit someone just a few times, load them up with lots of conditions, and even if they run away and back off, which they absolutely will, I can still do a lot of damage. It's largely a grenade spec for these purposes, but I do have other utilities I run for while I'm roaming and in a lot more close quarters. And you're going to be seeing a lot of that. I'm going to do like a picture-in-picture thing on this build video where I'm just literally running around in World vs. World, and I'll try and cut in as many fights with players as I can so you guys can kind of see it in action while I describe what I'm doing here. So let's take a look first of all at my gear, and then we'll have a look at the traits. Now, very smart people will tell you that it's not wise to go 100% condition damage if you're running nades, because nades actually have a little bit of base damage on them too, and because you throw multiple grenades with every single skill while you're using this kit, they can actually do okay for power damage. Like, it's better to split both power and condi. Now, with that in mind, I decided to go for Carrion. Carrion is condition damage major stat. It's got power on it, and then it's also got vitality. Your other options would be to go with power, condition damage, and precision as a major stat, or rabid, which would have toughness on there and no power whatsoever. I've gone with Carrion because I feel I don't really need the precision that much. Grenades, because you throw multiple grenades at once, you actually need a much lower crit chance, if you think about it, to be able to proc things like traits and sigils and runes, because so many projectiles are going out, at least one of them is probably going to crit. So I feel like if you're a grenade engine, you actually need much lower precision. So I really like Carrion. That said, so I've got Carrion here on my armor, and I've got Carrion on the top 3 ascended trinkets that I've got here, but am running Rampages down below. Rampages being precision major stat, but still with power and condition damage on there too. So I get a little bit more precision. You'll see that my base precision, this is kind of off at the moment because I've got Bloodlust, but just imagine it's slightly lower. Maybe I shouldn't demo this in World vs. World. It's okay, I'll demo it in World vs. World because this is sort of where I run the build most. So yeah, I've got about 35% usually crit chance, and that's more than enough to proc all of my stuff. And the idea is I want to load people up with absolutely loads and loads and loads of condis as early as possible. My runes, this shouldn't come as a surprise. They're very strong runes. They were nerfed recently, but not so much to the point where people wouldn't want to run them anymore. I think that's exactly the way that they need to balance stuff, which is so GG to ArenaNet there. Runes of Perplexity. These give you massive amounts of condition damage. They are condition damage runes. They boost your confusion duration, of which we get a lot in this spec, and I'll show you guys. And they also give us a chance to cause confusion on hit. That's 3 stacks. And if we CC people, we get 5 stacks of confusion too, and even further confusion duration. So it's very nice runes, especially for engineer, who get lots and lots of CC and other sources of confusion too to stack them on top of that. Perplexity is very nice. Also, it plays into my idea of being able to do absolute maximum pressure at 1500 range. I can throw grenades 1500 range away and load people and like proc confusion on targets, and that's strong. It means a lot. Further, I can proc torment AoE on everyone from 1500 range away through this sigil. One of my sigils is a superior sigil of torment, 30% chance on crit to trigger AoE torment, but because we have so many projectiles, my crit chance is absolutely enough to proc this every time the sigil recharges, and because we have condition duration through our food, for example, I actually often have 2 stacks of torment on entire groups of people because this triggers AoE. Very strong sigil, and I love this sigil for roaming. There is another sigil that I run as well sometimes if I'm expecting a lot of close quarters fights, but I'll talk about that in a second. Also, For my pistol, I run a superior sigil of corruption. So you can see here, corruption, I actually have 25. I went into the liberty to go off and stack this up to max. Basically, what I'll do is I will, either on players or on neutral mobs, I'll stack myself to 25 corruption. And then once I've got it, I swap to another pistol. This one here, this Dream Thistle pistol, which, by the way, was a ridiculous amount of money to buy and probably not worth it because, like, engineers most of the time are in kits and stuff, so you don't get to see it. But my Dream Thistle pistol actually has a superior sigil of bursting on it. Bursting is a new sigil that's come in the game, and its description reads that it adds 6% to current condition damage. So it takes 6% of what my current condition damage was, which was at 1,954, and that would have been 1,674 without corruption and the bloodlust that I've got right now. And then when I equip my Dream Thistle pistol, it bumps it up to over 2,000 condition damage. Basically, this swap, you stack your corruption, and then you just for free swap to another weapon, and you get even higher condition damage. So that's what I do with my sigils. I also have an optional other shield that I run. It's not actually in my... Yeah, it is still in my inventory. And that would be Geomancy. Geomancy, I feel, is really strong with kits because it means when you swap to a kit or away from a kit, you do AoE 3 stacks of bleed around you, which is pretty heavy cleave. It's stronger than the Torment. But this is also only melee, and it's a minor boost. The Torment is generally a lot stronger, and you don't really have to think about it so much. It's just constantly proccing in the background. So, that's what I'm doing with my gear. I've also got, I don't know whether I told you guys, I've got a bunch of malign infusions and all of my ascended stuff, which was totally useless, and I didn't need to do at all, but hey, I sort of went a bit crazy for stat boosts there. But yeah, so... let's have a look at my traits now. My traits, this is the bit that's going to look brain dead. I'm running 30-30-00-10. I mean, just any class you play, you can tell that's like a really glassy kind of setup. The thing is, NG has a lot of really strong quality of life and defensive cooldowns and things that you can run in the spec anyway. And I often find even running on this trait setup, I win a lot of 1v1s anyway. Even 2v1s I'll win, just because you have so much cleave. You only really have to outlast people for a short period of time. Like, NG is very, very strong with the amount of things that it can do. Now, there are going to be other people that tell you, look, you shouldn't run this, this is kind of stupid, going 30 in Firearms is stupid. I actually think the patch made this viable and a lot stronger, and I'll explain why. But, for example, just to lay it out there, a lot of people are going to tell you to go into Alchemy, either 10 points because you can go for deeper condition damage, perhaps, than if you were in Firearms, or you can run things like, if I get CC'd, I get protection on me, which can protect you. Like, protection injection is so strong, I run that in PvP. There's a lot of great stuff in Alchemy. Then, like, the grandmaster in Alchemy makes you immune to conditions when you get low on health. Very, very strong. There's a lot of strong stuff, and people will recommend more balanced builds. But hear me out on this. Okay, so first of all, I'm 10 in tools. What does this give us? A little bit of cooldown and on our F skills, and it gives us a little bit of crit damage, which is nice because we're critting fairly frequently. But also, I take in this slot Speedy Kits. This is a well-known trait to many engineers. I would recommend to any engineer leveling up to go Speedy Kits straight away to put your 10 points in tools as early as you can. What this means is if you have any kit equipped, a kit is just a utility skill that on its own doesn't do anything, but when I activate it, it changes my 5 weapon skills and equips a bundle on me, which I can drop at any time and basically has no cooldown. What Speedy Kits does is means when I equip one of these kits, I get swiftness for 10 seconds. And the best thing about this is there's no cooldown. So once this ticks out, well, there's a 10-second cooldown, but a duration of 10 seconds. So once my swiftness ticks out, I can just equip another kit, and what do you know? I've basically got permanent swiftness just from one trait. Like, stupidly strong. Perma swiftness from one trait that's only 10 points in a line. Super nice. You can, in theory, take a trait in Firearms that gives you swiftness when you're critting, that will then also sort of give you permanent swiftness, but in combat. But the out-of-combat utility for this is far stronger, in my opinion. The crit damage is useful anyway, the cooldown is useful anyway, so I say just go for the tools, and that frees you up a Firearm slot. So that's how I've been running that. This also has great synergy, again, with Alchemy, because Alchemy, Master Tier, has got a trait that gives you Vigor when you gain Swiftness. So you can almost, well, they patched it, but you can have very high Vigor uptime from this as well. Because you would equip a kit, it gives you Swiftness, it gives you Vigor. And then you equip a kit, and it goes on indefinitely. Very, very strong. So that's why these 10 points are down here. I'm also now 30 in explosives. This is pretty much necessary if you want to run grenades, which is one of our utility skills, one of these kits. The grenades, by default, have like 900 range. So let's unequip the key trait that we're running here. By default, they have Sorry. By default, they have 1200 range, and every time you activate them, they're all ground target abilities, for those who might not be aware, and you throw 2 grenades with every ability you use, as you can see here. On our tool belt, we actually get Grenade Barrage, which throws a whole bunch out at once, but we throw 2, okay? 2 grenades every time, and we are limited by 1200 range. This trait, the Grandmaster trait in explosives, this gives you, it says, you throw grenades farther, and every single skill you use throws another extra grenade too. So now we have 1500 range. Look at the range I can be throwing these grenades at. Really, really far away. Super useful if someone's like on a tower or on walls up against a keep. Like I can put out lots and lots of pressure. And we've basically boosted our damage by 50% because we've gained a whole extra grenade just from that trait. And that means extra condis going out, extra opportunities to proc our sigils and our runes and so forth. Very, very, very strong. So we go 30, and it's pretty much a given that if you're on grenades, some people won't run that trait, but I think it's sort of folly. It's pretty much a given if you're on grenades that you run Grenadier. By running into this line, it gives us condition duration, which is useful because we're on a grenade spec, and it gives us power, which is useful because at the end of the day, these things are hitting and will be critting. Even if you don't build crit damage into a spec, you get a base 150% crit damage multiplier anyway, so it's still worthwhile and it's still useful. So I take Grenadier in the Grandmaster slot, and then we have 2 other slots to play with. I take critical hits, inflict burning, and I take shrapnel, explosions have a chance to cause bleeding. Now, I am incredibly sure about these 2 traits. There's a lot of traits people will look at in explosives and think, oh, maybe I should take this instead, okay? Might when you gain a heal skill. I'll talk about that in a second. Reduce recharge on bombs and grenades. That seems useful, especially if we're on bomb kit, which I often do run. Oh, look, it means that we can use our big cooldowns more frequently, maybe get more condis out, right? So that seems like it could be strong. Improves damage from explosions. Grenades are explosions. Surely that would be useful. But I say don't take any of those. I say take the explosions have a chance to cause bleeding, and incendiary power, critical hits, inflict burning. If you've never played a condi spec, you might not appreciate how much damage burning does. Look at this tooltip. 5 seconds of burning for free. That gives me 4,100 damage. When you're cleaving an enemy and you're seeing the footage as best as I can show in the picture-in-picture, as soon as the burning ticks on someone, it sort of doubles the rate that their health is dropping. Burning is super, super, super important. And by taking this trait, we pretty much have burning on people half of the time, all the time. If I actually pop my consumables, which I should have talked to you guys about earlier, I'll talk about it in a second, this goes up even higher. We have like 80, almost 90% of uptime of burning on enemies just from throwing grenades at them. Now, that's only single target. That's not AoE, but it does mean whoever gets hit with the burning gets hit really, really hard. The burning can be very sorely underestimated by players, but is probably the strongest trait that you can take in explosives beyond Grenadier. It's stupidly strong. And also, shrapnel. It took me a long while to realize how strong shrapnel was. Sometimes I'd be thinking to myself, oh, maybe I should run grenade cooldowns or something like that instead. Shrapnel's really strong. It means that even if we're auto-attacking in our grenades, we're still inflicting bleeding. By default, this doesn't do anything. It doesn't inflict any condis, but we're still inflicting bleeding. I will walk us over to the warg now, and I can show you guys exactly how strong the shrapnel is. Shrapnel will change us from doing, like, I don't know, 3 to 6 to possibly 9 stacks of bleed on a foe just through this skill 2, to having 19, 20, around there stacks of bleeds on an enemy. And having 19 to 20 bleeds because you've been able to free cast on something for long enough is really strong. It's particularly strong when an enemy goes down, you throw, say, a poison grenade over them to cleave the body, make the res slower, and then you get to keep free casting your grenades on them. You stack insane amounts of bleed up on people. Shrapnel is really, really strong. So sort of, through just playing Engineer for long enough and sort of testing these out, I would say these are almost indisputable. If you're going condition damage and you're on nades, nothing else is stronger than these. Nothing else. Like, if you're thinking for raw DPS, nothing else is stronger. Maybe you can go cooldowns if you like, if you feel that, you know, you want to have more poison grenades because you want to cleave more bodies, perhaps, or you feel like the chill that you're getting from this grenade is more useful to have on a shorter cooldown. But for raw damage, these 2 are the money makers. And so I will take us over to a fairly beefy enemy. As you can see, as I'm running here, I've just got permanent swiftness. I will take us over to a fairly beefy enemy. I love this event, by the way. This warg, this veteran warg, just like the easiest wild XP you will ever come across. And I will demonstrate to you guys the kind of bleed stacks we can get on an enemy. So, Okay, so that could have been a bit of a rough cut there. I've just taken notes over to the warg. He's not on spawn at the moment because I just killed him. I want to actually talk about some of my other traits and some of the other things I'm doing before I start demonstrating stuff in combat for you guys. So, let's have a look at the final line. So I've explained why we're 10 in tools. I've explained why we're 30 in explosives and exactly the traits that I want to take. Now let's have a look at firearms. Firearms, this is sort of the disputable thing. Firearms is a nice tier because it gives you condition damage, okay? 300 condition damage, and it gives you that sorely needed precision. However, a lot of people feel that the major traits that you can take in these slots aren't that useful, and that's pretty much true. The old reason people would run firearms is because there's a grandmaster here called Napalm Specialist. Burns we apply last 33% longer. This used to have great synergy with incendiary power that I was talking about before. This now has 7 seconds of duration. If I pop my consumables, which I use Koi Cake for condition duration, this now turns into a 9-second burning. It's pretty much permanent burning uptime. Now 9 seconds of burning with 10-second cooldown on it, right? It's heavy burning uptime, which is really, really strong. So this is what people used to run firearms because there was great synergy here, and you have some other abilities that can inflict burning too, which was nice. But there is actually a change to the other Grandmaster recently called Modified Ammunition. This increases our base damage, not condition damage, just the base damage that we hit. Increases our base damage by 2% for every single condition on a foe. Now, you guys will notice I have quite a big condition damage range. First of all, just grenades through our sigils, which we can see here, through our sigil is inflicting torment, so that's one condition. We're getting confusion from our runes, that's 2 conditions. And then the grenades themselves also apply a variety of conditions also. So I actually run Modified Ammunition now. This trait never used to work while you were wielding your grenades. It used to only work while you were on your pistol or on your rifle. And there just wasn't very good synergy there. But now that it works even while you've got your kits equipped, I'm actually going to be doing 22% more damage flat on everything I do just from taking the Modified Ammunition trait. The whole idea of the spec is to put a huge, massive variety of conditions on the enemy and then benefit from Modified Ammunition to the greatest of extent. So with that in mind, let's have a look at the majors I've now chosen in firearms, which actually now seem more useful. This one will just simply improve the range on my pistol abilities. I think this is really, really useful. Quite often someone's kiting away and they're just out of range, but this moves us to over 1,000 range on our pistol abilities. That's really useful. The auto attack is giving bleed as well as all of our other on-crit stuff. We're getting high poison stacks, high confusion and blind from the 3. I really, really like that trait. As I say, it is a bit of a wasteland for traits to take in firearms, but this is one of the strongest ones. You could also perhaps go for cooldowns on your pistol abilities if you find that you use them a lot. You could go for precise sights as well, and this means you're basically going to get like 25 vulnerability stacks in combination with your grenades, because you'll notice here our explosions cause vulnerability as well from our 25 in explosives, and this means that our grenades, no matter what grenade we're using, it applies vulnerability on top of everything else, and that has great synergy with precise sight. So I'll just demo that for now. And then the first slot, I take Sitting Duck. Why do I take Sitting Duck? It's because often I'm on net turret, and I have a lot of Immobilize on the net turret, which itself is another condition, and this gives me cripple whenever I pop that Immobilize. And the result is I have about 11 conditions on an enemy. In a perfect world, I have about 11 conditions on an enemy very, very quickly, and then I get massive, massive benefit out of Modified Ammunition, while the conditions themselves are just doing heavy, heavy cleave on people. So, that is the idea behind the spec. I think I've covered pretty much everything, except my consumables, which are Koi Cake, and also quality tuning crystals. You could go for the higher one, but really it's not worth the price. But with all of this stuff popped, the Koi Cakes give me 40% condition duration. That's so key, so strong. It boosts the duration on so much stuff, allows you to get much higher stacks on things. For example, I will do 20 seconds of bleed. I think that's per grenade? So 2,000 damage from each grenade that's hitting someone here on the shrapnel grenade is super strong, and I'm throwing 3 out at once. It lasts for 20 seconds. If I go up against someone without insane condition damage removal, they're in a world of hurt. And because we have such a high range of conditions as well, even having condi removal, like, not many classes can remove 11 condis, like, instantly. Like, Elementalist is pretty much the only people if they're running Ether Renewal and they're running Cleansing Fire. Like, even guards will struggle to remove that much. So, I want this veteran warg to respawn so I can show you guys sort of how this runs. But I guess we'll demonstrate on this warg here. He'll die way too quickly. But here's sort of generally how it works. I can do it all at 1500 range. So I can engage on someone, or they could be on a wall from quite far away. And basically, here's how it would work. I would throw the 5, the 4, the 2, And then as they come close, I would immobilize them. Blast finish in the poison field. He's dead too quickly, but that would have put basically every condition on him. We'll go through it, okay? So, from our first grenade, we get vulnerability and poison. Let's assume that our rune and sigils proc as well, which they absolutely will eventually. So we get poison, vulnerability, confusion, torment on them straight away. Then we get chill here. Then we get bleed here. Then we get blind here. Then we have immobilize here and cripple here on them too. We have burning from our incendiary powder trait, and finally, finally we have weakness when we do the blast finish in the poison field, and that puts an immense range of conditions on the foe. Now, I guess I'm just gonna have to wait for this warg to respawn, I guess. Or maybe I'll cut in some of the roaming footage so that you guys can see. And this is sort of the way that the spec works. Just give me a second. Or maybe I'll just find another big enemy. We'll do another awkward cut. I'll see you guys in a second. Okay, actually, I'll demonstrate something else to you guys. We don't own this camp here. It's got 2 Doliacs there. I can show you guys some nice stuff that we can do here. So, when I'm roaming in World vs. World, this can easily solo camps. Very, very easily solo. Any camp you like. You just have to equip bomb kit. No. Fuck, I really didn't want to do that. I didn't want to supply drop either. How did I supply drop? What the hell? Oh, okay. I'll be right back, guys. I am actually terrified now that someone's going to come and steal this camp before my cooldown comes off, so I'm just going to ignore it. Usually I would supply drop too. That's the elite, by the way. I haven't even talked about that. I'm talking to you guys about utility skills now, though. So if you want to, like, solo camps and kill them very quickly, you run bomb kit, because bomb kit, the skill 4, gives an AoE blind. So all we have to do is line of sight the entire group of people. They will all charge into us. Please don't be on indignation. I guess I'll know very quickly. Okay, he's not on indignation. And once you've got that blind field out, you can just keep kiting left and right while dropping all of your grenades. Use the skill 2 on your toolkit, and if I target an enemy here... Oh, wow, the supervisor actually isn't taking any damage. That's weird. But you can see the massive condis that we do, and that this is a huge camp with double Doliacs, extra guards all over the place. I think he was on indignation because he wasn't taking any damage at all, which is very curious. And they actually all kited away. And all you have to do is keep kiting in little circles like this. Wait until you get your the skill 4 on the bomb kit is really the key thing here, because that's what's allowing me to tank this stuff. Sort of you can just AoE people out. This supervisor survived a really long period of time. But you saw the range of conditions on him as well before he went down. And then you can just like very easily solo camps. You can actually solo fully upgraded camps as well, as long as it's the right camp and you can line of sight the enemies. Some camps you can't do it at. If you can't lure all of the enemies into a nice corner and blind them all at once, you can be in a lot of trouble. But for example, this camp over here in the Borderlands 2 has got a great line of sight. These are all really strong because, like, one of the main problems with upgraded camps for this spec is the necromancers that summon the Kabbalists. They will pull you, but if you can line of sight them, get them into corners, then you can do heavy damage. So that's the idea of what I do when I'm, like, soloing camps. I will drop the smoke field 4. You'll see here that we get AoE burning, pretty much permanent uptime as well from the bomb kit, which is super strong. If I was running this in PvE, I would absolutely be on that. Then we get the box of nails here on toolkit. Now I run toolkit because my third utility swaps out depending on what I'm doing. Usually it's net turret if I'm playing against players, because I can demonstrate this combo to you guys here. Usually if it's against a player, I'll be on net turret, but I always run toolkit. Toolkit's super useful because the gear shield is a really long duration, basically invulnerability for you. I sort of view it as really strong, and the box of nails is even more bleeds and cripples on foes, plus you've got more confusion on a pry bar, and the magnet is super useful too. What I'll do if I'm engaging on players, so we'll find the veteran warg here. Let's assume this is a player. What I'll do is I'll pull them from 1200 range to me. Then I will immobilize them. Ah, he didn't get pulled. That was really dumb and annoying. Then I'll immobilize them with the net turret and overcharge it instantly, which also didn't work because another warg ate it. And then I'll drop the box of nails, and they have really high immobilize uptime on them. Then you can even supply drop them afterwards. I haven't been able to demonstrate any of this, but you can get like 15 seconds of raw immobile on an enemy. And then they just sort of get melted out. I didn't get a chance there to show you guys how much bleed stacks he had on him, but I'm guessing it was probably quite high. And then, like, you either leave the turret there or you detonate it so that you can get another F4 ability. That's sort of the way the spec works. I'm hoping that the picture-in-picture has demonstrated enough of its usage to you guys. There's not really much more for me to talk about. I have tried many different NG specs. I've tried... the one where you run... So for consumables, I'm on Koi Cake. There's another consumables that I added recently, Marjorie's Experimental Chili. This gives you power and condition damage flat, but it also gives you 3 stacks of might when you use a heal skill. And you can combine that with one of the traits here in explosives that also gives you might on a heal skill. This one here, enhanced performance. So you can also pop that, and then you'd have 6 might just from popping a heal skill. So for example here, and you can run the heal kit as well, and then you have 6 might. And even on top of that, because the heal kit is itself a weapon swap, you can run, say, a Sigil of Battle, which moves that up to 9 might. And then if you run Cordicus's Mana, you can get Noble Runes, which also gives you 3 might on heal skill, which turns that to 12 might. And that means that all you have to do is pop a heal skill. Oh, look, I've got 12 might. You wait like 10 seconds, pop the heal skill again. Oh, look, I'm now on 24 might. Like, it's stupidly easy might stack, and it will put you, my condition damage right now is 2,236. It will put you way higher. It puts you closer to 3,000 condition damage. And it's an okay spec, but the problem is, its healing turret is incredibly strong. I love healing turret. Many NGs will know how strong healing turret is. It's absolutely the bomb. So it's kind of annoying to have to run the kit heal instead, and it's got less synergy with heal turret, so that's not so great. And also, you're sacrificing a big trait here. You're sacrificing incendiary power to take 3 might, and it's a question of, do you want 3 might or do you want 4,000 extra damage on your spec? And absolutely, if you ever make a decision, do I want might or do I want another raw hit or more big bit of damage, I say always go for the damage instead of the might. Like, it's a big sacrifice. You also miss out on the koi cake. Koi cake is huge because it increases your condition duration so heavily. To miss out on that as well is a bit of a shame, and it kind of sucks. And the runes too, you also miss out therefore on getting your 1500 range proc on confusion on people, and that's really strong in PvE too. This isn't all world versus world I'm talking about. The Harpy Fractal, for example, after you've killed old Tom, you can, with perplexity runes, you can throw grenades at harpies that are really far away from you, and if you get the confusion proc, for some reason on those enemies, it ticks confusion like twice a second on them, and you just do heavy damage even though it's only 3 stacks. The same with the boss, Lornar at the end of the Snowblind Fractal. When he teleports up onto that ledge, if you have loads of confusion on him, it ticks him for like 4,000 damage a second. It's ridiculous, depending on how many stacks of confusion you've got. So, Perplexity is really strong, and yes, it was nerfed, but it is still an absolutely incredible rune set to take. I love the Sigil with the Torment. I've demonstrated to you guys my weapon swap. That's about it, really, I would say. So, thank you very much for watching this build video. Let me know what you think, guys. It was kind of a weird one to do, I suppose, because I don't sort of know how good people are with NG, whether I should just go back to basic and talk to you guys about, you know, all of the might stack combos that you can do and crazy stuff like that, but I'm going to assume people know a lot of it, and maybe we'll have a look at another spec soon enough, and I'll talk to you guys about some more advanced plays I run on this character, how to 2v1 people, because you just get so many options on NG. You get so many options. But until then, thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something, and I'll see you next time.